Okay, here we go. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Happy 2024. And today's topic is going to be New Year's resolutions and what we think about them. So, my fellow host, Mr. Wesley Mosier, I'm going to hand it off to you, buddy, and kick things off with this exciting topic.
Oh boy. Um, well, I think my opinion is going to be similar to yours. I think I know what you're going to say. And also similar to a lot of people, like New Year's resolutions are fun and cute to think about, like, oh, we're going to hit the New Year strong and stuff. But at the end of the day, like the mindset's off. It's a mindset of tomorrow, right? Like if you
Yeah.
actually meant what you said in the New Year's resolution, you would have been doing it anyways. And so it's convicting because not all of us are up to the standards that we want to be. Part of New Year's resolutions are good because you can mentally turn the chapter and say, okay, well, 2024, when I look back on it, it's going to look like this. And you can do that. But you should have that mindset every day. You shouldn't have it for a year because that's going to keep you stuck to where we have, like, we deal with this in sales. Like, people have this holiday, oh, after the holidays, I'll figure it out. And it's just such a, like, when you have a business, you're going to have to do tough things during the holidays. So if you can't figure it out now, you probably can't figure it out in the next 20 years of owning a business, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's my philosophy, my 2 cents for now. But then also the other side of New Year's resolutions too, which is like, we like to talk about like the fancy goals, like the end of the climb of like, okay, it would be really nice if I could do this and this and this, but like we kind of avoid to talk about and confront the ugly things that are stopping us from getting there, like the day-to-day actions that actually get that result, right? And so like, for me, I'm focusing on, like, this year, my whole theme is like a theme of dedication, or devotion is a word that I'm using for this year, like devotion to myself. And devotion is a very packed word. And I'm just focusing on like 1% gains that I can get every day, focus on right now, sustainable growth, not
Yeah.
like these crazy goals that are gonna maybe or not be hit, and they don't really matter at the end of the day because it's the journey, not the destination. And so that's my first 2 cents
Mm-hmm.
on all of that. What
Yeah,
do you
yeah.
think about that?
I love New Year's resolutions because they get broken all the time. And it's kind of like speed limits, they're meant to be broken, and laws, they're meant to be broken. And it's a mindset thing. Right? It's always a mindset. It all goes back to wait, hold on a second. It always goes back to that, right? Mindset. And we humans were interesting because we like to have these like significant dates, like anniversaries, things like that. We like to have our rituals. I mean, it's all seasonal, cyclical, and stuff. And so, of course, we get together, celebrate. And what do people usually do on New Year's Eve? Is they're getting drunk, they're doing cocaine, having unprotected sex, all those things, right? And then they're like saying, "Okay, you know what? This is it, man. Just starting tomorrow. I'm not going to do this thing that I've been doing forever." And it's like, that's just not going to work, bro. That's the same thing with people going to the gym and all that stuff. It's not going to work.
Right.
And it makes me think about this one thing that I was contemplating the other day. And this is a little bit of a tangent, but this is going back into sales and it relates to mindset. And I think the type of mindset that people go into when it comes to resolutions, when it comes to any type of
Mhm.
thing they want to change. And that's something that we've talked about is the low success that people see when they do some type of educational offer, they do some type of biz op, right? Some type of just thing, is that they're already coming in with this like temporary motivation that they've got, right? Because they got inspired by something, whether it's like a testimonial or whatever it is, or saw someone's Instagram and the numbers that they're pulling in from whatever, and then in that moment they're like, I can do this, and it's like, yeah, and in that moment they can, but can they sustain? It's like someone who's not training for a marathon, or a fighter who's not training for that long fight. And yet in that moment, they're like, dude, I can totally do this and I can duke it out and blah, 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 blah. But then it's like after round one, it's like, oof, have you been doing the work that you got to do in order to sustain, the idea of the
Right.
marathon? And so I, I'm against the idea of New Year's resolutions. They don't, I don't think they work, or at least it doesn't work for me. to say, hey, on this one specific day, I'm going to do this thing that's going to change the trajectory of my life. It's like, fuck it. Just decide now what I want to do to make things different, and then start taking those steps despite what the day is. Despite, because in some sense, it's all arbitrary anyways, to say that this is going to, we're literally looking at a calendar and all agreeing by convention saying, okay, so today is going to be January 1st, 2024. We all agree?
Mhm.
Awesome. Awesome. Now, if it's something
Right.
like, you're going to line it up with some type of solar eclipse or some lunar eclipse to make it all like even weirder, that's totally different. Then I'm all about that.
Yeah. And okay, so I'll play devil's advocate because that's the obvious stance that I have and you have. But like,
Right.
um, devil's advocate could be like, okay, it is arbitrary and it is totally pointless, but maybe if I'm lacking motivation or inspiration to make a change, maybe the fact that I just entered a new year and I'm starting with a clean slate, and if I look back at the year when 2020, I like to look at my age. Like I'm about to be 26 this month, so I like to see like, oh man, I'm gonna be 26. What do I want to do when I'm 26? Versus 25. But like same thing, like you could use this, back to the Stoic philosophy. You can use everything in your power to empower you, right? Everything in your control. So like you could look at this new year and be like, all right, I'm going to use this to empower me. I just think that, um, I don't know. I think the story that we tell ourselves matters. And like that story of like, I'm gonna do something because it's 2024, not because I should be doing it anyways, is like probably the reason why if you don't get there, that's probably the reason why you won't regardless, because you had the wrong expectations. You had false expectations. And so that's really what I'm focusing on this year. I'm not thinking about like the big like audacious goals that are way out there. I'm just thinking about what do I want to do right now that's going to get me in a better place. I want to be in a state of improvement and a state of betterness and a state of gratitude and a state. I'm focusing on like the state, so that right now I feel like I'm fully who I want to be because I'm in progression toward a worthy ideal, rather than I'll get there at the end of 2024. So right now I'm just focused on, again, me versus me, and like what's the one thing in front of me. So right now it's my sleep. I got to get my sleep dialed in. So I adjusted my calendar. I'm getting better sleep. My energy's better. Once I conquer that demon, I'm going to conquer the next demon of optimizing my health, my food, my diet. And so I'm working on that. And I have this nutrition coming my way that's already shipped from Amazon. So I'm just doing like the one small step stuff. But those little blocks that I build up consistently and compound, I think is going to be a lot more powerful in the long run than like trying to shoot for a goal and you're not really building a foundation. You don't really have the principles in place to sustain any of that. And then it's, who cares at the end of the day? Because you and I have set pretty audacious goals in this space. We've hit goals. We're not like the best sales guys in the universe, but like I've hit goals that I've set for sales and they're not fulfilling.
Yeah.
Money's not fulfilling to me. Numbers aren't fulfilling to me. Being the number one in the leaderboard isn't fulfilling to me. And so, I'm trying to figure out that cadence for myself. And I don't think for me it's setting goals. It's more of like confronting the version of myself that I am now, is kind of like that's what fulfills me personally, rather than setting arbitrary goals that just because the new year changed or whatever. So
Yeah. There's a part of me that's it's because we're talking about some hardcore heavy duty conditioning that has come from society and culture when it comes around this time of year, when it comes around any of our holidays, right? When it comes to Thanksgiving, when it comes to Christmas, when it comes to New Year's, right? And then if there's the ongoing joke with some folks where it's like, yeah, let's celebrate the new year while we're in the middle of winter. Like, why can't we celebrate this idea of the new year when spring comes in, when you actually have this physical change, when there's more light and there's something to like, signify around you that there's this change happening, as opposed to like, yeah, happy new year, bro, it's super cool. And that conditioning is very difficult to override, because I found myself on New Year's Eve at the beach with my family. We're watching this beautiful sunset, right? And the water's coming
yeah.
in. The water was like unseasonably warm on the Pacific in California. And I'm having this moment with my son, thinking about this coming year and thinking about like the cleansing nature of the water. Right. And so of course it's like, yeah, okay, I'm having that. I'm going to experience it and I'm going to go run with it. As far as what you were saying with goals and not setting that, that's cool. You know, I've got my goals, but
Yeah.
what's more important than the goals are the daily rituals, the things that I do every day, the things that I show up for every day, the making sure that when I work hard, and then when I rest hard, and when I go play, I play hard,
Right.
and keeping in line with those like personal cycles of self
So
where
let me clarify, because I think I'm gonna skew some people here where they're like, "What the heck was this advocating against goals?"
right
So
totally
I do have a vision of my life. I do have a vision, and a very clear vision, and I do have targets that I need to hit. But I'm not motivated anymore by, all right, man, this year I'm gonna be, you know, 200K. Let's go. Like that's what I'm shooting. That's what makes me fulfilled. Like, no, I'm not even focused on that. I'm just focusing on, all right, I want to be I'm focusing on more character attributes, right? So like for me, I want to be a top performer. So like what does a top performer do? So I'm evolving into that every day. And I don't need this like goal, because I'll just become that person. And that's how I work. That, you know, it's a little unorthodox, but that's kind of how I like to do it. Is just like um I'm just one foot in front of the other. When you deal with depression and you have things that like tear you down constantly, it's hard to like have this constant hopeless mindset of like you have this goal and you never hit it, and then you have this perfectionist trap where you're not good enough all the time. For me, I've reverse engineered, and it's easy to give myself grace if I don't have standards on myself, and I just try to show up every day a little bit better than I did the last day. And what I find is I just outperform the version of me that you know sets goals anyways, because I'm just setting principles rather than goals, right?
mm,
So that's what I'm working on, is setting principles. And so some principles that I want to do, I want to be a man of my word this year. I want
mm,
my say do ratio, which I got
mm.
from Cole Gordon, which I think is actually a kind of unique way of saying it. Like the ratio of things that I say versus what I do, I want it to be extremely high, like 100%. Where like if I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it, and I'm a man of my word. Because I think, and Dave said this on our team call today, like if you start to follow, if you start to do the things that you say you're going to do, you're going to build self-esteem, you're going to build confidence, you're going to build self-respect, you're going to build all of the attributes that you want to be.
Yep.
So like
Yep.
that's one of the I'm focused on more character and principles this year than I am on goals. I'm going to see what happens. I'm doing it as an experiment,
Yep.
just to see what happens. So I'll kind
Yeah.
of document my journey with that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. JD said something like that, I think a week ago or 2 weeks ago, one of the UCM calls. I think actually during the awards, he brought up something about just integrity being, you know, you're gonna do what you're gonna say. You know, that's another metric for in integrity, a quotient, if you will. I think that's huge. That's straight up from also the four agreements, right? Being impeccable with your word. That is something that I can work on as well. I think we all can, right? And
right.
it's always progress. It's always we can always do better. You know, we can always 1% improvements on a daily, and 1% on what, right? There's so much to improve. That's the beautiful thing about this ride. That's the one thing I really enjoy about um, being 47 to your soon to be 26
Yeah.
is that there's just so much, dude. So many ways to live life and so many things to improve upon.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, you know, pick one. Which one do you want to work on today? Right. But at the
Right.
same time, like you were saying, giving yourself that grace so you're not falling in the trap of perfectionism, because that's deadly. Something I wrote
Mm-hmm.
down is strive for excellence. All right. Excellence.
Yeah.
That is based in Latin to surpass. Right. So excellence means to surpass. So if I'm always striving for excellence, then I am looking to surpass what I've done before. And if I can do that on a daily, if I can do one thing a little bit better than I did the day before, cool. It's not always going to be great. It's not always, you know, some days they're going to be, you know, better than others, and some days not so good. And that's okay.
Yeah.
How it goes.
Yeah, and it's accomplishing the same thing, right? Like I'm waking up, I'm eating right, I'm studying and everything, not because it's some goal that I set, it's because I'm the type of person that does those things. And so it's more wrapped around my identity. And I feel like if I develop that and strengthen that and build the evidence around that, that I am that type of person, then I'll have a lot more confidence and be able to transfer that outside of sales. And speaking of that, I'm going to kind of volley it to our next call. So we're going to have for the remaining people listening, we're going to have Charlie on our call next. So we're going to have him in 2 days, and we'll probably talk about personal branding, growth, some similar things. But I think this year we're going to have a lot of like really strong guests, like Charlie's this week. We got John Beaumont. It's like a mindset ninja. And then we're gonna have JD at some point later on in the month. But yeah, I want to challenge, and Marco, maybe I'll let you have the last words, but I want to challenge everybody this year to, it's really easy, especially with the industry we're in, to show the flashy sides of like sales, like, oh, I made a sale today and I did this and I four sales, or I'm number 9 on the leaderboard, or whatever it is. I would challenge everyone to start flaunting the ugly things they do when no one's looking, and start to be proud of that. Start to optimize for being proud of the things that no one sees, that you don't want to confront. Because if you can get really good at that, if you can get really good at like optimizing for the trenches, I think that's going to be where we have the most leverage this year, because everybody's shooting for all the same shit.
Dude, that's where you see your fucking true face, man. I'm gonna end it on this. We're going over a little bit of time, but this is where you see your fucking true face, dude. And it cracks me up when homies share position on the leaderboard like their second and third week of the month, where I'm like, bro, that fucking shit is fleeting. Like, come on, man. It's almost like it's almost like they're masturbating in front of a mirror and then taking a selfie and then put it on social media saying, look, I'm so hot. I understand why it's being done. I get it, right? But going back to what we were talking about, it's like your true face is shown when you're dealing with adversity. And that's the thing. It's like, where are you at in here and right here when you're dealing with that bullshit? You lower to the level of your training. You don't rise to the occasion. This is straight from, the special operations. That's the shit they figured out.
Yeah.
Right. Where they're like, you don't rise to the occasion. You lower to your level of training. And so when you're in the shit, when you're having a bad month, when you're having a fucking bad week, whatever it is, when things aren't going your way, are these being maintained? Are these still strong for you? There are going to be oscillations and there's going to be blips, but are you doing the work to maintain this? Because when it's going right and everything's cool and everything's hitting, it is easy. It is easy to be pretty. But can you be pretty when you're covered in shit?
Right. And that, you just remind me of a quote. I have to say it. James Clear, the Atomic Habits. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems, of your standards, basically.
Your standards.
You don't rise to the level of the height of your goals. You fall to the level of your standards. So
yeah.
And your systems too. And so, yeah, I think that's
leave it at that.
That's what we're going to focus on this year. So
better standards.
See you soon. Awesome.
Right,
cool.
take it easy.
Peace.